Hello and welcome back to Rule the Game. In this video, I'll show you how to play Let's Go to Japan, a game by Josh Wood, published by AEG, for 1 to 4 players, lasts about 45 minutes, and it's recommended started at age 10. As usual, I'll start with showing you how to score the game, then I'll show you how to play the game, I'll give you some hints for your first game, and then we'll go into the game setup section. And if you're new to your channel, please subscribe. But now let's get started with Let's Go to Japan. Rule the game. In Let's Go to Japan, you build an itinerary to go visit Tokyo and Kyoto within 6 days. On each of these days, you can do 3 or up to 4 activities. This is now after we've gone through 13 rounds of pulling cards and putting together our itinerary, and we're now getting ready to score the game. I've already scored day 1 for us. So you see that up here you have some of these experience trackers. They're already a little higher on the track. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to score Tuesday and Wednesday, and the other days are going to be just the same. We'll start by scoring Tuesday by moving the experience trackers with the icons that you see up here. In my case, there's just this icon here that we're going to move 1 forward. Now, after we've moved the experience trackers, we now move the mood trackers. I have one to the left here, another one to the left here, but then a green one moving me back. Now, should you ever end up on the leftmost or the rightmost icon, then in that case, you'll actually move the token down here by 1, and you'll move the counting token back into the center, and you will start again from the center here. Next, we count the victory points here per card. Those are the cats with the waving paws. Here we have 4, 7, 4, so that's a total of 15 points. And for the last card here on the bottom, you also have a highlight of the day, in which case you check if you've reached this condition here. So what I would have to have is 2 of these icons, 2 of the experience trackers here for the flowers. You see mine is only in 1. So I don't really reach the condition. I can't get the 6 victory points. However, during the game, I actually collected a couple of wild tokens. And with these wild tokens, I can use them at any point in time. By discarding them, I can now move whichever token I want, experience token by 1. And I moved the flowers here to the 2. So now we've reached here the condition, and we can get these 6 victory points here. So what we have now for Tuesday is 4, 7, 4, 6, so a total of 21 points, which is quite the number of points actually per day, and you put that in here on your scoring pad on Tuesday. Now when we get to Wednesday, we do the same thing again. You do see that there is a train up here. That doesn't really matter, it just means that we move from Tokyo to Kyoto. We'll score that later, but we go here again through the different cards and we add up all the icons we have. So up here we have one of those, then we have another one of those, and one of these. And now, as you can see, we're getting to a walk. I've picked up a walk for that day. What I can do with a walk is I can take it, I can turn around, I can see if I want to have this side of the walk or this side of the walk. Here you just get a victory point. On this side, I also get a victory point, but I get other stuff. So I actually rather take this side of the walk. And I keep the walk icon though. I can also put it a little bit aside, that's fine. So here I get one of these icons, then another one of these. We'll move the mood tracker by 1. And as you see, I hit the rightmost point. So I'm going to move this by 1, put this back in the middle. And I get one more of these and one more of these. And again, I've actually fulfilled this condition down here. I've got more than 2 temples, more than 2 flowers. I've got 4 of them. So I actually also get the victory points here. So I get 7 points from up here, 7 from here, 14 points. I'll put them down here. You'll do the same for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, assuming I had already done Monday at the very beginning. Then you check up here, how many points do you have from your smiley and frowny faces? You check what's the number underneath. I got 5 positive points. I could have also had negative points, which I luckily don't have. I put the 5 here. Then you'll get points for where your experience tokens are at the end of going through your itinerary. In this case, you'll see up here, there are victory points depending on where you are. You can get a maximum of 15 victory points per token if you can move the tokens that far, which you won't be able to do with all of them, but you might be able to do it with some. Then you look at the train tickets. You see that the luxury ticket here gives me +2 victory points, but I also had a regular ticket here that's -2 points. Start doesn't have any points at all, so I actually have a 0 here too. And in case you have a reservation, which is one of these tokens here, you'll get 1 victory point for those. You sum up all those points, and whoever has the most points wins. Let's Go to Japan is played in rounds. There are 13 rounds, which you see on this board up here. And in each round, you're going to get some cards. You're going to put down your cards on your itinerary. You will not be able to move those cards anymore once you've placed them. And you always then also pass along cards to either your left neighbor or to your right neighbor onto this field up here. Now, as you can see up here, on instructions, it shows you exactly what you're supposed to do in each round. We assume that we've already played a bunch of rounds. We are now in this round here, where it says play 2 cards and pass 2 cards. And you actually see here in the symbol that you are supposed to pick up 2 Tokyo cards from the deck and 2 Kyoto cards. All players do the action simultaneously, and then we move on to the next round. Now, as you look at your cards, you can decide which of these cards do you actually want to place down in front of you. Let's take the Kyoto Handicraft Center first. I want to use that card, and I can place that card anywhere I want as long as it's on a day where I have less than 3 cards, because having 3 cards is considered having a full day. Now, in my case, I can play it anywhere here. I can also play it here, and I want to place it here because I actually want to match it up with this icon here. That gives me a bonus that I'll show you right afterwards. But let's say I want to put the Kyoto Handicraft Center here. You can either put it on top of the existing card or you can put it on the bottom. No matter what you do, you won't be able to change the order anymore afterwards. The second card, we want to take this temple here. And I want to place this temple also here on Wednesday because they have as matching temple icon here. But I see actually down here, the highlight of the day is here only 5 victory points, here it's 7. I think I can actually, or I know now already that I can achieve this requirement. So what I do is I'll put this card underneath here. Now, as you can see, I have a day finished with 3 cards on this day. What happens now is that I check how many of these icons that are here for this specific day, how many of those do I have? And I have 3 temple icons here, in which case I can decide from up here now what bonus I want to get. You have, for 1 icon matching, you can move your mood tracker by 1, and that's actually the only action you can do up here, or the only way you can move something before you go on itinerary. If you take this mood icon, you can move the mood up by 1. Otherwise, everything here always stays at 0 and doesn't move. Should you have 2 or more icons that match, you can take a reservation and take it yourself, or you can take a wild token and put the wild token here with the others. And the last option, if you do have 3 or more icons, which I in this case do, is that I can take another luxury train ticket, which I already took one here for the first day. That is just the one here where you take the +2 points instead of the -2. Or I'll go on a walk. What does that mean? Now, walking is also an option that you have in general. Should you not be satisfied with the cards that you have available when you have to play a card, you could technically also discard one of your cards and take another card from the deck without looking at it and just place it somewhere. It says go for a walk, and you put a walk icon on it. As usual, here you could also stack it under or above another card that's already there, but you can't look at it. As you can also see in that case, you actually get a reservation for free. You can take that and put it up here. Now I can't go and walk because I already played my 2 cards. I only was allowed to play 2 cards. But here now I have my 3 icons that are matching this icon up here. So I can take a walk card. I can decide from which deck I want to take that walk card, and I can add it to my day here. That's the only exception how you actually get to 4 cards on a day. Now you can decide again where you want to place that walk. It will definitely give you 1 victory point. It might also give you 2 victory points if you put it down on the bottom here as the highlight of the day. There's no requirement to get these 2 victory points. And as you saw in the scoring section, later on, you're actually going to be able to look at the other side and decide if you want to keep the other side or if you want to stay with the walk. Now, I'll put the walk here. If you get a walk here from the bonuses, you don't get any of the reservation cards here. But you place it here and you still put the walk icon on it because you have a walk no matter if you leave it then face down or turn it around to face up. So once I've played my 2 cards here on my itinerary, I'll then take my 2 cards I have left and pass them over to the player to the left. I will place those cards on the board here on this section here. You see I already have 2 cards here, and I will get also 2 cards from the player to my right. Now I have 4 cards. This was this one round. We're now moving on to round 7. And in round 7, you see the symbol here. It says pick up the 4 cards that are on your board. You see there are exactly 4 cards. There were 2 cards from this round and 2 cards from this round. I now have 4 cards. As you see here, I just picked up a yellow card. Yellow cards can either be Tokyo or they can be Kyoto. You decide. Usually it's an activity that can take place in either town. So you decide if this is going to be a Kyoto or a Tokyo adventure that you're going to do. Same thing as before, you place down your 2 cards wherever you like, as long as it's not on a day that's full, and you pass the 2 cards along to the next player. Starting in round 8, you see that there is an arrow here that goes the other direction. So starting in round 8, you'll pass the cards along to the right. Now, when you pick up the 4 cards, and in case you have one of those reservation cards here, you can decide that if you don't like any of these cards, you can discard this reservation. And you see here that what that means is if you discard it, you can now pick up 3 cards from any deck. You decide which ones you want to go for, and you'll take those cards. You'll have to discard 3 cards immediately. And then you play with these cards that you've now picked up. So this is how you play the game until you reach round 13, which is the last round. Here what you have to do is first you pick up a card from one of the 2 decks, take it in your hand, and then you also pick up the 1 card that's left on your deck here. You decide which one to play and you discard the other card. At the end of round 13, we will score the trip. And to do that, we first actually have to put down all our train tickets onto our trip. Every time we switch from one city to the other city, we're going to have to put a train ticket on those trips there. As you see here, that can be within a day. That can also be between 2 days where we then do our trip. Now you also see that the start ticket doesn't really have to be at the beginning of the first trip that I do by train. It can also be on a later one. You just should be using those. And if you have more trips than you have tickets, more than you have the start and the luxury train tickets, you'll take some of these -2 tickets that you have in the stash there, and you'll put those on top of these trips that you're going to do. And that's it. Now we're ready to score. Please note that I will not explain the 1-player version of the game here in this video. For that, you will have to go into the manual. And here are some hints for your first game. I usually start the game by first trying to match up my first couple cards with the icons that are up here above the different days. Why is that? Because I like to get some of those bonuses after I placed my third card in the day. And so then what happens is you start with one day, you start placing a temple, you probably want to add another temple later. And as you start adding some of these temple cards, you realize, oh, I actually have a very good highlight of the day here that gives me a lot of points. Now I'm trying to actually get all the icons together so that I can also fulfill the condition and get the points. And that's how this all very puzzly, this game, where you're really trying to, for one, try to match icons with the experience of the day, but at the same time also make sure that you previously already did all the experiences that you need to get points later. There are some cards that have really high victory points for the highlights of the day. So the card that you can put here on the bottom. For those, you usually need a lot of different icons. And for that, you rather usually place it towards the end. The tricky thing will be for you to find a card that has a good number of points, but also not such a difficult condition for your highlight of the day of Monday. Because on Monday, you're only going to have 3 cards, or 4 at the most, that can give you the icons that you need to fulfill the requirement. As you can see here, I actually did. I personally try to keep my mood tracker quite even. I usually don't really have too many plus points. I don't really have too many minus points either. You could go for lots of plus points, but many of the good cards that give you lots of victory points will also cost you something, and costing something is always bad mood, bad experience. You don't like expensive stuff. So you're gonna get minus stuff that you're gonna have to compensate with plus. It's tricky to just do only plus and get the points from there. Whenever I can get the free walk here from the bonus, I will take the free walk, because most of the time the cards that will have more than 1 victory point on the backside, if you can look at it later, I have still not understood why you wouldn't turn a card face up when you get to the actual scoring of the itinerary. There are very few cards that have 0 victory points, so I don't know why you would leave the card as a walk with face down. But apparently this option exists for some reason, I don't know why. But if you can add a walk on a day, that's a 4th card. It's extra points. It is definitely worth it. When it comes to traveling, try to travel not too much, but you can easily have 3-4 trips between cities. That's fine. That's not a big issue. In the worst case, you get -4, -6 victory points there. Not such a big deal as long as you actually have good cards from those cities. I have seen regularly that people usually stay within 2 or 3 trips between cities. That seems to be quite the normal thing, and you usually try to maybe do Kyoto in the beginning, Tokyo at the end, kind of like you would plan a trip if you went there. But sometimes you have very good cards that come along and you need to use them in a place in the middle where you have to switch city, then do so. If the card's very good, if it gives you lots of victory points, then do it. And don't forget, this game is about the experience of planning a trip to Japan. So do that. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. And that's it for Let's Go to Japan. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see the game setup section, please stay tuned for the next section. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. To set up the game, every player gets an itinerary. Then we have here how the rounds work, the round tracker, and you put the tracker here on the first field. Every player has a smiley and a frowny face that go right here, and the token of your color goes in the middle field of the mood tracker. Then there are 6 of these smaller tokens that every player gets. One player will place them randomly on the different days. All the other players will have to match this order. Every player also gets a Star Train ticket, and then you have the 5 larger experience trackers that you'll put here on the 0. You'll shuffle the 2 decks for Kyoto and Tokyo, You also place the train tickets, the wildcards, the walks, the research tokens, and even these plus 12 tokens next to the board, and you're ready to get started.